Hi guys, it's Leela Mullen from Be Inspired Horsemanship, and I'm here for our next episode of Sundays with Sunday. So with Friday being Valentine's Day, we thought we'd cover a topic that's kind of interesting that we hear a lot of and a lot of things about at clinics and horse shows and with clients, and that is commitment. So I look at working with my horses as just like any other relationship. It requires a tremendous amount of time and commitment to make my relationship with my horses successful. And when you're talking about commitment to your horses and the time you have to spend with them sometimes comes into play, I want you to think about it in one of two ways. So the first way you can look at spending time with your horse and the commitment that it requires for good horsemanship is that maybe you have a limited time that you can spend with your horse each week. Maybe you can only spend 3 days a week with your horse. I think that's fine if you can only do that. And you can't be out at the barn every single day. Some people don't have, the luxury or the benefit of being able to spend all day, every day at the barn with their horses. They don't do it professionally. It's not something they do as a career choice or a job. So maybe your time's limited to a couple of days after work or on the weekends. That's okay. I think that there are just two main principles you need to keep in mind when you can make a limited commitment with your time to your horses to have good quality horsemanship. Number one is make sure you're setting reasonable expectations for the relationship with your horse that you can develop in the time you have available. So just like any other relationship, if you can only spend 3 hours a week focusing on that relationship, then just have expectations that are clear to you and your horse so that you're being fair with how much you can get accomplished in that time frame or in those sessions. If you're doing quality horsemanship, you can get a lot done in 3 sessions a week. But at the same time, you're still not going to get as much done as someone who does that 5 or 6 days a week or all the time, or can have several sessions a day if they have a particularly troubled horse. So just keep that in mind about setting, fair, reasonable expectations for you and your horse in that committed relationship. And then the other thing I like to think about if I have a limited kind of commitment I can make to my horses is being mindful, being very present in the moment with my horse. I think that's important regardless of how much time you can spend with your horses or how much commitment you can make to working with them. Because being in the present is where horses live. They don't live in what happened 5 minutes ago. They don't think about what happened yesterday's session. They don't think about what could happen 10 minutes from now, depending on how your feel and timing are. They live in the present and in the moment. So you kind of have to train yourself to be able to do the same thing. Mindfulness is all about living kind of in the moment and being very aware and present with what you're doing. So for instance, I try to leave my phone out of my riding time, working time with my horses. Now, granted, I bring my phone for emergencies to the barn. I also, of course, have my phone so that I can take videos to share with everyone or to review for my own training. I ride a lot and work a lot by myself, so I don't, very often have another set of eyes here to say, yeah, that looked good, or no, that didn't look good. So I do a lot of videoing to review. Which can itself sometimes be a little distracting. So I try to limit that to certain days, or if I'm having a particularly difficult moment with a horse, I don't worry about what I'm videoing, or if I'm videoing at that moment, I try to be very present with that horse and be able to support them. So I try not to be on my phone, and I cannot tell you how many clinics, shows, other boarders at my barn I see, and they're riding around with their phones, like on their phones, texting or scrolling Facebook, riding around on a loose rein, not paying any attention to the mental or physical state of what's going on with their horses. And you might as well not even be on your horse. I'm just going to be honest. You might as well not even be on your horse if you're going to be on the phone and you're not present and mindful and in the moment with them. They're not learning anything. They're not getting anything out of it. Neither are you. They're pretty much on autopilot, which means they've taken over, which means they're doing their own thing. They probably zoned out too. I try to just be very present in the moment. At the same time, other things, can be of a distraction. Other riders, friends at the barn, people hanging out, somebody else riding in the arena, maybe causing a disruption. You feel some type of environmental effect on you and your horse. Well, I just tried to kind of tune all that out, be very focused and very mindful of what I'm doing with my horse, especially if I had limited time. The other side of time and commitment with your horses is keeping the idea alive that how committed you can be to your horse is solely up to you. So a few years ago, I very much was one of those riders who said, I have a lot of work, I have a lot of other priorities, I have a family and a really intense job and things I'm dealing with, so I don't have time for as much time for my own horses. And I had to really have a wake-up call and realize that in order to be fully committed to my horses and my horsemanship, for me and for them, they had to become a top priority. And that is a choice that I made, and that is a choice you can make starting today, starting tomorrow. If you feel like you aren't getting enough time with your horses, if you feel like you're not committed, if you feel like you're not where you want to be with your horsemanship or with your goals, try to think about ways you can be more committed or have your horses and your horsemanship become a higher priority in your week, in your day, in your life. Because if it's important to you, you'll find a way to make that commitment a little bit more lasting and a little bit more of a priority each week. So for me, commitment boils down to making your horses a priority and being very in the present, in the moment, with whatever time you have you can spend with them, whether that's 1 day a week or 5 days a week. Just be really in the moment and committed to their learning as well as your own. So that's Leela Mullen. This is Sunday, who's being a very good boy on our third session, standing here today for Sundays with Sunday. Tune in next week when we'll have another topic that'll maybe help you get you thinking about your horsemanship and get you started out right for your week. Thanks, guys, and have a good one.